we are back on air at 6 o'clock, and we're heading right now to breaking news, the scene of an officer-involved shooting. Right now, we're looking at the police information officer, public information officer, Vince Lewis, Sergeant Vince Lewis, who's going to be giving us a live interview here in just moments. He is live at the scene near 16th Street in Portland. Let's listen in.
Right now from Sergeant Vince Lewis. He's right here. He's going to go ahead and tell us there's a pretty large police presence here off of 16th Street and Portland Street.
Good morning. My name is Sergeant Vince Lewis with Phoenix Police. We are investigating an officer-involved shooting here near 16th Street and Roosevelt, just north between the freeway and Roosevelt. It's a rather complex scene. I'm going to try to take it slow because there's many moving parts to this, but I do want to let you know that this information that I have right now is preliminary. It's the best information that we have right now. So there's going to be a lot of questions later on. Hopefully the investigation will answer that. But about 3:15 this morning, Phoenix Police were in the area investigating. They were finishing up with another call when they noticed a group of juveniles, young adults, right in that age range of late teens, early 20s. They appeared to be drinking and walking through the streets. At one point, somebody threw a bottle at a car, at a passing car. The officers attempted to make contact with them, at which time the group scattered. The officers called for help, and they started running in a couple of different directions. One of the officers encountered a subject believed to be armed in the area of about 14th Street and Portland. There was shots exchanged at that point. That subject did run onto the off-ramp at 16th Street, was then struck by a vehicle. That vehicle did not remain at the scene. That person was found deceased, pronounced deceased at that location. So that's one of the four suspects. Another suspect was located on an area search by an officer with a canine and an officer with a taser. A taser and a canine were both deployed in that instance. That suspect was taken into custody, has been transported to the hospital. Is expected to survive injuries at this time. There were two others, both were located and are in custody at this time. There was a second exchange of gunfire. I'm not sure if any of the suspects in that exchange were struck by that gunfire, but the two that are here on scene that are in custody are not injured. So we have one suspect who was involved in a gunfire exchange with police. It was then struck and it is now deceased. And we have another that was transported to the hospital. There were no injuries to officers, and again, I understand there's a very complex and there's a lot of moving parts to this, so hopefully the investigation will solve that. But we do have 16th Street closed from roughly about Roosevelt to the freeway, just south of McDowell. We're going to stay here in the area for the next few hours. The scene is safe. What's going to take place now are two concurrent investigations. A criminal investigation that's going to partner with the Maricopa County Attorney's Office to take a look at what exactly took place, because again, we do have somebody who was pronounced deceased after an exchange of gunfire with police. We have a second investigation that's going to be led by our Professional Standards Bureau, our internal affairs. They're going to take a look at this investigation by policy to see what's taking place. We have several officers that are here not only to help with scene security, but we also have our employee assistance unit who is going to be here to check on those officers' welfare along with our chaplain program. We have plenty of resources from investigative units and others just to make sure that we go over this very thoroughly, and hopefully we'll answer those questions about why the police presence and what goes into this. Do you have any questions thus far?
Do we know if the deceased
And you are listening in to Vince Lewis right there as he continues to brief the media out on scene about this officer-involved shooting, a very complex scene, as he mentioned off the top there. It sounds like at least multiple officers fired shots at suspects. There were 4 people total, 2 of them in custody, 1 of them at the hospital after being tased and I guess bitten by one of the police dogs, and then 1 of those suspects dead after it appears being shot at by police, running on to a ramp on I-10 near 16th Street and being hit by a car, then the driver actually speeding off. So incredibly complex.
And we also know from Vince that this all started when police spotted a group of what appear to be teenagers. That's what we're talking about here, who they say appeared to be drinking in the street, threw a bottle at a passing car.
Right.
Police saw it, tried to break them up. That's when they ran. Police also pointed out that when that first exchange of gunfire happened, the officer did see a gun first. That's when they pulled their weapon and an exchange started, the first of 2 exchanges. So, of course, a lot to unpack here. We do expect to learn more information as this unfolds. Also important to note for anybody who's heading out this morning, there are road closures that he talked about. 16th Street closed down to Roosevelt, from Roosevelt down to the freeway, and it is very likely to stay that way for several hours as they continue to piece this all together.
And I-10 eastbound at 16th, that ramp there completely closed as well as they investigate that hit and run. It's also unclear if that suspect that was hit by the car and unfortunately passed away, if that person was shot by the officer before they ran. So they're going to be picking up shell casings over a multi-block radius, doing an investigation, both criminal and internal, and then of course the hit and run investigation. So there are so many moving parts here, very complex. We're going to get more information from Vince as the morning progresses.
And make sure you stay with us on air and online. That's where you'll get those breaking news updates.